On this week's show, why are some people successful as property investors and others not?
And in the news, is the property market finally starting to slow down a little bit?
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
Hey, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Now, you'll probably notice that myself and Alistair Cunningham are not together in person. We were due to meet today in the studio to film. Unfortunately, Alistair was going to have difficulty getting to the studio. I've got no idea why that is, so I thought I'd bring it up on the show and we'll find out from the man himself. So what was the issue there, Al?
Yeah, hay fever.
Hay fever?
Stopping me going out of the house at the minute. I don't know. Do you guys suffer from hay fever? Anyone that's listening or watching, do you suffer from hay fever? Because I'll tell you what, it is absolutely diabolical at the minute. Like literally, I went out and sat on my balcony for like 10 minutes about an hour ago, and like within minutes, hay fever was kicking up. So yeah, okay. I'm housebound due to hay fever. Yeah, definitely.
So nothing else?
I can't think of anything. No,
no other reason why you weren't able to drive here today?
I can't think of anything. No.
Okay, so nothing. It literally is just the hay fever. So
yeah.
It must be driving you crazy, that hay fever, Al.
I wish it was driving me crazy, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, I know where you're going with this. Yeah, unfortunately, I might be looking for a driver for a few months.
What?
It's the hay fever. It's the hay fever. I just can't go out.
So because the hay fever, you're unable to, you could even say banned from driving for 6 months due to hay fever.
Yeah. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Blame the hay fever. So.
Okay, so Alistair, unfortunately, guys, he won't be driving anywhere for the next 6 months due to hay fever. So that's a real shame. That is, bro. That is. I'm gutted for you. Could the solicitor not get you off?
No, because they said the hay fever is just too bad. They couldn't do anything about it. And to be honest, we took it to a third party, and they also said it was quite bad that you're gonna have to stop driving for 6 months. So
the hay fever was that bad. Just totting up of hay fever cases. So it's first hay fever, and then it just keeps totting up, and in the end, it's so bad that you're not able to drive for 6 months. Is that basically what's happened? Is that what we're saying here?
That's what she said. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so that's what Alistair's been up to this last week.
If there's anybody out there that doesn't suffer from hay fever and can get away with that, then yeah, you hit me up, because I'm looking for somebody to help me who doesn't suffer from hay fever.
Really? Are you genuinely looking for a driver?
Probably, yeah. It's a bit.
Although,
to be honest,
one of our guys who works with us, a guy called Chris, does a bit of deal selling and stuff. And Chris was like, "Hey Al, I'll give you 300 quid a month, and you can let me drive your Porsche." Yeah. Alistair said no. I thought that was a pretty good offer, but Alistair said no. He'd rather just look at it.
I'd rather park it in my car park and let it rot than give it to him for 300 quid a month. However, Chris is coming over tomorrow to drive me. He's bringing me to Birmingham in my car, so he's going to be driving me to Birmingham. We've got crash courses. We're mid crash courses at the minute. We're actually on the crash course tour. And we've already had 2 this week. Really good. And yeah, Chris is going to be driving me around for this week, because obviously he needs a vehicle, so I'm going to put him on my insurance, and he's going to be my designated driver for the next couple of days.
That's it. And we're going to try for next week and arrange it so that we can you can let your hay fever not totally let it down, but let someone drive you due to the hay fever to the studio instead, and we can film in person. Is that right?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna work that out.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So basically this week then we're going to be talking about why are some people successful in property and other people not. Interestingly, I was chatting. Well, actually, I wasn't even chatting. I was just listening in. I was overhearing Samuel talking to someone at one of the crash courses. And the guy was like, "Oh, I've been trying to get rent to rents now for 2 years. My strategy is open rent, and dude, it's just not working. I've tried again and again. I'm on it." And Samuel said, "Okay," he said, "seriously, how when you say you're on it all the time, what does that mean? And he goes, literally, I'm sending messages all the time, and I'm not getting any success. And so it's okay. That's one of two things. Either you're not actually sending messages all the time, just think you are, or number two, you're saying the wrong things. He's like, so look, punch up your open rent, man. Let's have a look. If open rent's your big strategy, let's have a look. So the guy goes on. He's like, I want to see all these messages. I want to see all these messages over the last 2 years. And the guy opened it up, and you could tell he was looking like sheepish straight away.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, here are the messages. Yeah. And someone's like, hold on, let me have a look. He looked at it. Over the last 2 years, how many messages do you reckon he'd sent?
I was there watching this, and I do know.
Okay.
Guy.
14.
Yeah, 14, yeah.
14 messages over the last 2 years.
That's like,
and he was genuinely, it's one every 2 months, but he was genuinely shocked because he spent so much time like thinking about it and looking at deals that he wasn't so he felt like he was on it all the time, but when it actually came to sending them, he wasn't actually doing it.
He may well have been on it all the time, but he just wasn't. He just procrastinating too much. So it might be that he was looking at these deals and then going away and doing due diligence on them and overthinking them instead of just getting the messages out there and getting that communication out there. But it's very interesting that in his head, he thought he'd been working really hard. He's been getting deals done. He's been doing whatever he can do. But the reality was, he could only prove that he'd sent 14 messages. And yeah, it was a bit of a shock for him. It really was.
Yeah. So what's the lesson?
I think a couple of lessons. One, track what you're doing. Actually have a spreadsheet or something in place that tracks what you're doing. So if you actually contact somebody, track it so you can keep track of where things are and what you're doing. And the second lesson is he waited 2 years to ask for help. He's been training for 2 years and he wasn't really getting where he wanted to get. What happened was he was coming to the events and then he sort of stopped coming, and then we saw him, like, hey man, why are you not coming to the events? Come back to the events. And then he started coming again. He said, well, I'm not getting success. And we went, oh, great, let's sit down, let's analyze it and see what's going on. We sat down, we analyzed it. I mean, he had belief, right? He believed in himself. He believed that he was capable. He believed that he could. He believed that he deserved this. He had sort of commitment because he was committing to look continually for deals. The one thing he wasn't doing was actually taking action against the deals that he so potentially found. And the fourth thing he wasn't doing was asking for help when he needed help. So where he lacked was taking action and also asking for help when he come up against barriers. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. What would you say the lesson from that is?
I agree with what you said. I'd also say it's good to set goals that you can control.
Yeah.
So rather than having a goal, like for example, if you set a goal of, I want to get 2 rent-to-rents in the next year, you're relying on, number one, it's too long. I think a year is way too long for a goal.
Two rent-to-rents. If you set your mind to it, you could get them in the next 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. But number two, you actually achieving a rent-to-rent is kind of a little bit out of your control. So what would be a better goal would be to say, I want to contact 50 landlords on open rent. And that's your first goal, right? That's your activity. So every week I'm going to contact 50. That's what we do with our land lease options. We send 50 a week. Now we don't, and then you just trust the process. You not know the process, trust the process, got to put the work in. So rather than sending 14 over 2 years and fannying around looking at loads of different sites, right? It's like, I want to send, it doesn't have to be 50, it could be 10, but I want to and be consistent. I think a lot of people, the reason a lot of people aren't successful is because they just don't put the work in.
I agree with you. I massively agree with you on that. But the people, that's one thing that people don't want to hear. Now, this reminds me, yesterday at the crash course, we were in Swindon, okay? And towards the end of the day, I was getting wrapped up and I was just taking a few questions from the audience and that. And there was a guy called Andy stood up. And one of the things that I went through a thing we go through where I say there's 4 things you're going to have to do. One of them is taking action and actually committing to something and actually committing to do that action. And Andy stood up and he's an older guy. He's probably in his 60s. And he's sort of going through the whole process.
He's actually, I know him, but he's 42.
Is he?
Yeah.
Away with you. Is he really? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Andy, if you're listening. I thought, oops, sorry, my bad. Anyway, Andy said, he goes, look, one of the things you're going to need to do is just commit. And he said, set yourself goals. So back in the day, obviously not as far back as I think now, but back in the day,
I'm joking. I don't know how old he is.
Oh, fine. Oh, thank God. All right. Back in the day, he was a door-to-door salesman, and they used to sell insurance services and things like that. And he said every single day he would do his normal job, and in the evenings when he was doing door-to-door salesman as a commission-only sales guy, he committed every day he would not go home until he knocked on 100 doors. And that's something he can control. So he counted it every day. He'd go to a couple of streets and he'd bang on 100 doors, and he would do that every single day. And eventually he got success, and he was quite successful in that sector. And he's now moving on to property. But I just thought that was quite good, because 100 in a day is quite a lot. But he was committed, no matter what time it took and what time he finished. He was banging on 100 doors that day. So I think that's really
good. Good.
Well, a very good, strong mindset.
Yeah, it is good. When I was managing a sales team, one of the things I used to say to them, I was like, look, I'm going to measure you in two ways. So number one, I'm going to measure you by your results.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's the most important thing. You know, that is the most important thing.
Of course it is.
But secondly, I'm going to measure you on your activity.
Yeah.
Now, if your results aren't there, but you're putting the work and you're making the activity, that's okay. We'll work with you and we'll say, okay, you're putting the work in. How can I help you? Where can I train you?
Yeah.
But if you're not getting the results and you're not putting the work in, then you're gone.
You
know, because I want to see the results. If you're not getting the results, I want to see you putting the work. If you put in the work and not getting results, let's try and fix it. Where are you going wrong?
Yeah.
But so many people don't put the work in, don't get the results, and then just like, it's hard, it doesn't work. No. It works. You don't work.
Yeah.
But it works.
This is what people don't like to hear, that, because it's about them, isn't it? It's a reflection on them. Like we've got sales teams, I've led teams, I've led sales teams, and I can tell you now, the sales methods work, the system works, rent to rent works, deal sourcing works, it all works, okay? It's all subjective to how much input you put in. And if you're not going to get off your backside and do it, then it will never work for you. But during these times at the minute, like, it's very tough times at the minute, in the sense of the property markets are climbing month and month and month. And it's no secret here. So a lot of deals are taking longer to get over the line. They're selling for more money. So if you're doing buy, refurb, refinance, it's a little bit more difficult to find the deals at the minute. What's keeping people motivated? Because some people are still making lots of money, but some people are falling by the wayside and giving up. So what would you say? What can we advise people to just keep them motivated? Because there's always going to be periods of time in any business where there's a little bit difficulty, and then you have the good days, the bad days, and you have the mediocre, the sort of normal days. So at the minute, it's a little bit tough in business. It's a little bit tough with the economy. So what would you say to do to keep you going, to keep people motivated?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to ask yourself, why are you doing it? So why do you want to be successful in property? Like, people are listening to this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So there's a reason that you've gone onto Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcasts or whatever and gone, okay, I'm not going to listen to music. I'm going to listen to Russell and Alastair talking about property. There's a reason. You're not doing it to be entertained.
Well, you're
right. Well, maybe. But you're doing it because you want to learn about property, probably, right?
Yeah.
For a reason. So number one, I'd say, why do you want to learn about property? Oh, well, I want to learn about property because I want to make money. All right, that's cool. How much money do you want to make, and why? Why do you want to make money? So I say the first thing would be to understand why you're doing it, why you've picked property. And so let's say, for example, you're doing it. Sometimes when you ask people this, there's quite deep reasons. It's like it can be quite emotional for people talking about it. So once you know why, I'd say, okay, great. How serious are you about achieving that? Is that important to you? If it's not very serious, if it's a 2 out of 10 or even a 6 out of 10, 6 out of 10, it'd be nice. It'd be quite nice to own a load of properties.
Yeah.
Then it will probably not ever happen. it will just be a nice little hobby that you mess around with, and it never happens,
that's
right?
the most sarcastic I've ever heard you, and it's quite funny. But go on, yeah, you're right.
Oh, right there, right?
You're
All right.
hang on,
So-
right? Yeah.
So if it's important to you and you go, do you know what? Geez, this is important to me. I really want this, right? Then you've got your goal. Now you've got your why. This is why you want to do it.
Yeah.
So first thing, I'd remind myself, okay, this is why I want it. This is why I want whatever it is that I want. Then, okay, what activities do I need to do in order to achieve that? And I'd work out, probably with the help of going on things like the Crash Course or Property Millionaire Intensive or listening to the podcast and get yourself educated, but with the help and the use of the education that you can get out there and studying and reading, okay, what are the strategies that I need to do? What are the activities I need to do to get there?
Yeah.
And then map it out and hold yourself accountable and just do it and think, okay, I just freaking need to do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I need to do in order to get what I want.
You know, I agree with you. I agree with you entirely, and particularly at the minute. Okay, let's take like property at the minute. Like just finding leads. Finding leads is harder now than it's been certainly for the last 2 years. Okay, because obviously properties are selling higher than they're on the market for. The leads deals are getting snapped up very quickly. I think now is even more so important than any other time to track the properties you're looking at, and you must track them, and you must track your interaction level with the agents or with whoever's selling them, because it's very easy to become like that guy we spoke about earlier, to think you're doing stuff when you're not, and what happens is because you're not getting the results quickly, you just give up and you just say, oh, I'll do it later. But no, I think you should set aside a period of time every day.
But people love to do the tasks they love to do. Oh, I want to become a deal sourcer. Right now, I need to spend a week designing my website and designing my logo, and I need to. Do you know what I mean? People love doing stuff that makes them feel busy.
I was helping somebody a couple of weeks back, right, deal sourcing, and they were on a Simon 365 call, and they spent a week trying to come up with a company name. Seriously, and I'm like, what difference? I believe it. What difference does it make? And they said, well, I can't do anything else until I've come up with a company name. And the title of their call, when they booked the call on Simon 365, was Help with Company Name. And I said, screw the company name. Call it whatever you want. Focus on the making money task. Find deals. Have you got any deals? And they're like, no. And I said, do you know how to find deals? And they said, well, sort of. We've done the Crash Course. And I said, then don't even worry about your company name until you know how to find deals. Find deals, find somebody to buy it. If you're not compliant, find somebody who is compliant and let them buy it, and you get a little bit of the money. People.
I mean, like look at Google.
Yeah.
Worst company name ever.
But everyone knows it.
It's ridiculous. Everyone knows it. It's a ridiculous name.
Yeah. Everyone knows it. Like take Google, Tesla, Uber, Just Eat. All these things are all ridiculous names. People know.
Quite like Just Eat.
Airbnb, but they're all good names. But like, I can't imagine there was a lot of thought put into, or there probably was, but it just
probably was.
Yeah. Anyway,
although Google, it was, do you know I can't remember exactly the story, but I was reading one of their books, and I think basically someone wrote a check to them, and they wrote it wrong, but it was like a big investor, and they wrote Google, and it was originally meant to be like Google or something. And they were like, oh, he's already written the check. So they changed their company name.
So they didn't have to go back to the investor.
Sorry?
Is that so they didn't have to go back to the investor and say,
yeah.
Sorry, buddy. But they didn't want to go back in case he changed his mind. That's all it was.
So that's how important they think the name is. Just, whatever the investor says. What do you want us to be called? Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I agree with you. So, I think, and do you know what? It sounds so easy. Just make a list of the activities and do it. But honestly, it's not easy, because 99% of people won't do it. And you say, a lot of people are going now like, oh, the property market's hard. Great.
Good.
I love it when it's hard. That means it's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
And most people, do you know what most people will do? Most people will dick around trying to come up with business cards and logos and names, and it gives you the advantage, right?
Yes.
It's hard.
It's that eureka moment. Like, yeah, if it's hard for everyone. That means you got to upskill and get better. And then eventually the markets will become a little bit easier, and then you'll be shining to the top. Like the cream will always rise, man. The cream will always rise to the top. And if you make sure you're skilled up and you know what you're doing, when the markets slack down a little bit and become a little bit easier, you'll be the top dog. That's the thing, isn't it? The problem is a lot of people take themselves out of the game because it is hard, because they're too lazy. And that's the reality. They're lazy. They can't be, they want to change their life. They want to go out and become a deal sourcer or become a rent-to-rent expert. They want to do it. But the reality of when things hit home and they have to do it, it's a big difference, because the life takes over and life gets back in the way. And again, I like that question you say to them, look, you want to change your life on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about doing that? And you need them to be super honest with themselves. And if you're anywhere towards the top of that scale, then there should be nothing gets in your way. And like, I mean, you could say this podcast will give you a little bit of motivation to do something, but really, if you're not already motivated, like it's difficult.
Your life and your results will be whatever you're willing to accept. If you're willing to accept having, I don't know, well, let's say you're on 40 grand and you're willing to accept being on 40 grand. If you're like, yeah, that's actually pretty decent, you're not going to be motivated enough to push yourself up there and get more. If you're willing to accept being ugly, like, and having shit hair,
what?
You're having crap hair, and if you're willing to, thing is though, right? Is
you're like a receding hairline.
Yeah, well, if you're willing to accept it, you'll have it. If you weren't, you'd go and get a hair transplant.
Yeah. No, I get that.
You're going to be whatever if you're willing to accept being fat, or if you like, I'm willing to accept being a little bit overweight. I don't want to be. I don't want to be a little bit. I want to have a six pack, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want it bad enough to put the work in.
No.
That's okay. If you want to be a property investor, but you don't want it bad enough to put the work in, that's fine. You can listen to this, have a little tinker around, but then don't come crying when you're not successful, right?
Yeah,
you don't want it bad enough.
I
don't go to the PT. I don't go to PT and personal trainers and go, oh, why have I not got a six pack? Why have I still got a little bit of a belly? But I know why. I know what I need to do. The activities are simple, right? Eat healthy food, exercise every day. Now I can exercise. I've been exercising every day for a year. I can do that. What I can't do is not eat crap food.
Yeah.
I like crap food, and I'm willing to accept being like I'm not that bad. I'm willing to accept it, but I don't want it bad enough to be better. And it's the same with being successful, right? If you're willing to accept where you are, then that's if you're like, this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for me not to be a millionaire. Just unacceptable. Just not prepared to have it. What do I need to do? And you actually think that, then you'll achieve it. But
I agree with you.
There you go.
I agree.
Been a bit of a different one this week. We've got no how to. It's all motivation.
Yeah,
like Alistair Cunningham, leader, speaker, trainer, extraordinaire.
The thing is, right? One of the things that I do very well is I'll and I do this at all the events. Like, you get people come up to you. I get people come up to me all the time, and they're like, "How do you always stay so motivated?" And I'm like, "I'm not always motivated, right? But I act as if I am." Okay, so sometimes I lack motivation. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh my god, this is hard." Sometimes I'm like, "Geez." But then I just do it anyway. Even if I lack a little bit of motivation, I still do it, because then you start to get results. And what I find, and this for everyone that's listening to this, right? Do you know, if you have a few days when you're feeling a little bit down, a little bit sort of moping, a little bit like, oh, let's just stick with what I was doing, right? Just force yourself, just for 8 hours, force yourself to phone as many people as possible about property, to phone as many agents as possible about property. And if you still feel the same at the end of the day, then you need to reach out and ask for help. Because the reality is this: when you pick the phone up and you start speaking to people and you start talking to people and start doing business with people and start interacting with them, you'll soon get that motivation back, because these phone calls lead to other phone calls and these deals lead to other deals. You just got to stay motivated and remember at all times why you started this whole journey in the first place. And if you're happy to accept what you wanted to give up when you started this, then give up. But I sincerely hope, and I suggest most of you are not happy to accept that. And that's why you're here today, and that's why you're listening to this. So stay motivated, keep going, keep pushing, ask for help when you need help. and don't dick around. Just get out there and just do it.
Right, it's now time for this. So in the news this week, house prices rise again, 2,500 in June, but early signs suggest the market is slowing down. Now, we talked earlier about how a lot of people are saying it is hard right now with the market, growing so quickly. It's hard to get good deals, hard for investors to buy properties. It's great for those of us that already own property because we can see our assets rising in price, which is obviously awesome. But it is hard to get on the market right now, particularly for deal sources and stuff. So, would you say this is good news, bad news?
It's a bit of both. Because,
bit of both.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Obviously, it'd be nice for the markets to slow down just a little bit, and just to make it that little bit easier for likes of deal sourcing and to find deals for investors and things like that. But then on the other hand, I've got houses which are coming up for refinance, and I've got valuation booked next Tuesday with one of my properties, and I want to see what that comes back at, because that should come back quite tasty. And we'll just have to wait and see. But look, we all sort of predicted that we'd come out of lockdown, and then prices would keep going up and up and up and up and up, and then they would start to plateau a little bit. Maybe this is the early signs that the house prices are starting to plateau a little bit. So who knows? Who knows, man? We just have to wait and see. We just have to ride it out. But either way, no matter what the economy is doing, a good entrepreneur who's educated should still be able to make money and profit and live a good life by changing and by pivoting what they do and how they do things. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And I think at the end of the day, I would say anything like this, good news or bad news, it's just news. And then you do with it what you will.
Yeah.
Well, you could look at you could always get the best out of stuff and have a positive slant on it and use the situation to advantage, can't you? So where it might help you one way, it might not in another.
When I was earlier on, when I was looking for news articles, just looking through to see what's going on in property markets, I come across this article, earlier. It's regarding Ed Sheeran, the singer.
I do. I've been told a few times that I look like him, although that is not the case, in my opinion. I don't.
Okay, right. Okay. I don't see the resemblance, but okay.
I don't see the resemblance either.
Okay, fair enough. Can you sing?
Unfortunately, if I was to sing, I'm so good it'd make Ed Sheeran look bad. So I'm not going to.
Not allowed to. Okay, fair enough.
No.
Oh, anyway, so Ed Sheeran done an Instagram post the other day, right? And this is about all these jobs worths that we have in society, all the Karens, as they get called, or the snowflake generation. Okay. Now, what's happened is he done an Instagram post the other day, and he's got this sort of country mansion in Suffolk, and he's got a load of land and all that sort of stuff. And in the Instagram post, it showed the background to some of his land. And some of the eagle-eyed sort of Karens out there spotted that he'd erected a log cabin, or like a new cabin, into his gardens. And quite a few of them complained to the council saying that he hadn't got planning permission for it. So basically, he put up like a wooden shed in his garden, and a lot of complaints flooded into the council saying that he shouldn't be doing that. He hasn't got planning permission. It needs to be taken down immediately. And the council are looking into it now, and they're looking into it with regards to whether or not he applied for planning for it, and they're possibly going to be asking him to remove it because if it didn't have planning, it shouldn't have been built. And it's just like, geez, that's just a bit pathetic, really. Do you not think?
Yeah, if it's not, I do. I do think it's
it's private land. It's a little log cabin. It's not like a 2-story building. It's a little wooden framed friggin' log cabin sort of type hot tub spa type house. Like, it's just ridiculous that all these we were talking about this a few months ago with them. Remember that farmer that built £5 million houses on his land? A little bit out of footprint or something, and he's going to be.
Well, I think they were quite a lot, weren't they? Weren't they like 30% bigger than they were supposed to be, or something?
Yeah, they were a little bit bigger, but it's just like some of it's gone crazy. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting, so I just thought I'd share that with you guys. See what you guys.
Well, Ed Sheeran's actually, I remember reading. I think he owns like 27 properties and stuff. So I think he's a bit of a property investor himself.
Yeah, most successful people are, because they invest the money they make from business into property. Hence why the the vast majority of people in the Forbes rich list is our property owners. So
yeah, very true, very true. Right, well, guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in to this week's show. We'll be back with a full feature-length episode with our quiz and Q&A and everything next week. But I hope you enjoyed that, and make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We're everywhere. So make sure you check us out.
yeah,
Leave us a nice review. Come and see us at one of the events. We're putting on all these free events. We're touring the country right now. Right now, we're touring the country, and we want to see you. Come and say hi. Get a little selfie. A Property Investors Podcast selfie. We'd love that with yourself. So we'll see you there.
See you guys.